Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to do decreases in flat peyote stitch. And you can do this with even count flat peyote or with odd count flat peyote, but I do suggest that if you don't know how to do odd count, that you do watch our video on how to do that before you try to do a decrease. I just want to show you an example. Our design assistant Kat did this piece here, and as you can see, she's had to step down and decrease to get the shape that she wanted here. And she's done odd count on this because it's symmetrical and she needs it to go to a single point. So I have an example here of what it looks like if you do this with even count, and it's just not quite symmetrical. The point is going to be off to one side. So the center is actually here on this. So if you do odd count, you'll get a point, and if you do even count, you'll get a point over to one side. The way you do this is actually going to be pretty similar, whether you're doing odd or even. I have this little piece here of odd count flat peyote, and I've woven my way back around to where I would start my new row. And because this is an up row here on the edges, it's up, I'm just going to go ahead and place my bead. And this is easier to do starting with an up row for the odd count. It's going to be, depending on how many rows you're doing, whether it's odd or even, it's going to be a little bit of experimentation. There's not really a very exact precise formula. I'm just going to kind of show you how you get around to place your needle where you want it. So to do a decrease on this row here, instead of doing a bead on the edge like normal, in normal peyote you'd put your bead right here, but I want to decrease there. So instead I'm going to weave back through, much like you do for odd count peyote when you're trying to get your bead on the end. I'm just going to go down to that next row, go up diagonally through two beads, skip down a row, and then go up diagonally through those two beads back to the edge. And you pull that tight, your thread should squeeze right between the beads. And if you're using a smaller thread, you really won't see it as much. I'm just using a thicker thread so you could see what I'm doing. And now we're going to go through those two edge beads to position your thread and needle where you want it, because you want this nice diagonal line here. You're going to want to place your next bead here. And you don't have to, of course, do decreases on both sides. You can make it asymmetrical, however you need to do it to achieve the shape that you're going for. I'm just showing you how to do a decrease on both sides right now. So now we want to stop here because you can see we've got our nice diagonal line going. So you want to just, when you've gone as far as you want, stop, don't add any more beads, and you're going to do the same process of weaving your thread in to get back up here to continue. So just skip down a row, weave up diagonally through the two beads, go down a row, flip it around so I can grab it better. And if your thread gets kind of thick, you don't have to go through two beads at a time. You can just go through one and then the next. So I just went diagonally through those two beads. Now you're going to go back up and into your top row here. And now my needle is positioned in the next row along the decrease there. And you'll complete the row until you come to the end. If you want to decrease on this side too, you're going to stop there, and you'll just do exactly the same weave in to get where you want to be. And then Here I've woven to a point, so I'm just going to add my last bead in. And I like to just weave right back down when I do go to a point, down the edge, to make that nice and firm. And then just go ahead and weave in and tie off your ends like you usually would. And we do have a video on how to do that if you're not familiar. So this is how you're going to do exactly this if you're doing odd count and you want to come to a point, but you don't have to do decreases on every side or on every row. Here you can see what Kat's done is she's decreased for a couple of rows and then she stepped it up and didn't do a decrease for one row. And it made it more of an elongated point. It would have been more of a gradual slope if she hadn't done that. So a really handy way to do it is to get a piece of graph paper, and you can find really easily with an online search, you can find Peyote stitch graph paper blank for free. And you can just kind of fill out and plan ahead what kind of shape you're going to do. And you just take your decreases where you need to do them and just do a standard peyote stitch where you don't want to decrease. And you can get pretty much any shape you want. And I do also want to mention that it is possible to do increases in peyote, but I find it personally easier to just start at the widest point and go down. So unless you're going to have a piece that's going to go up and down a lot, it's usually easier to just start at the widest point and do decreases because I find them a lot easier than increases.